Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session. I know we are doing after I think a break of more than 1.5 months. Yeah, but that's fine. Then at least we are resuming and we are meeting again after this break, so we can see how frequent. I will try to do the same frequency like twice in a month, and let's see how quickly we can keep it. But I will try to keep this show running and as much as possible. So today's topic, as we discussed, right, it's about the metrics. So we have you all heard about different kind of metrics as a manager, as a scrum master, as a product owner, as a team member. And then we know few organizations, they're also having a mindset and they are trying to run the scores on the basis of the metrics. So before talking about what kind of a different metrics we can use, we can track, and what benefit we will get as a scrum master with our team, I just want to understand, like, what is your understanding from this topic of metrics, Scrum metrics, what you know, and what different kind of metrics you're already aware of. And then I will share a template as well at the end, which you can use for your teams.
For my team, we use burn down charts, velocity. Yeah, basically these two.
Okay.
Uh,
Anyone using anything else apart from these two? Okay, so we will start with these, and then I will also try to add a couple of more, which will give you more visibility, right? And then we'll also talk about a couple of Kanban metrics as well, and the differentiations, like where we should use the Scrum metrics, where we should use the Kanban metrics, and what the differentiation and what kind of a outcome we are getting from these things. So let's first talk about the same one, the velocity metrics, right? Well, why we are using the velocity metrics? Like, what is the outcome of this metrics? What you're trying to solve with this matrix?
Velocity, we try to keep the average, and so that the team has some consistent delivery every sprint. So that helps in checking on the velocity.
So we are using velocity metrics to tell the team this is your velocity, you can only commit this, or to use it for a better projection for our future work. Like, what is the purpose? See, that is very
Credit
important.
on the deliverables.
Yes. See, that is the thing which I will say it's an anti-pattern. So first thing, what we are understanding from the metrics, why we are using and why we should use the metrics, what helps, that is a huge difference. Generally, most of the organizations and most of the Scrum Master or the managers, they are using metrics so that they can share with the team how you are performing, where you have to improve, right? So basically, this is not the primary goal. The primary goal of the metrics is to collect the data, how you can project the work, the future work. So if I'm only talking about this, let's talk about the same of the velocity one, right? I will talk about the different trends in the velocity one, and I will talk about what will get. Let's say, okay, you are having a certain number of, let's say every sprint you're delivering 30 story points, and you collect last couple of sprints of data, and you will say, okay, my average is 30. What you will do with this average? What we are doing, we are sharing this average with the team. Guys, this is your average. You should only commit at least minimum to this. You should not go less than this. But that should not be the intent of the metrics. The intent of the velocity metrics is, we know what is the velocity of my team, and when I'm going to project the work, future work, to my stakeholders, I can tell them, like, this, my team's velocity is 30 story points. If you have a backlog of 300 story points, then I need minimum 10 sprint to deliver it. So with the 10 sprint means you need 5 months. Going with some buffer, you can say within next 6 months, we will be ready with this backlog. That is the expectations. So it's just in a mindset. Instead of telling your team, this is your velocity, you have to do minimum of this. We should use this velocity matrix to project the future work, project the timelines. If you have to deliver a certain number of features, first get a high level of estimation for those features, then try to find out what is your team's velocity, and then with that velocity, you can project your timelines, future timelines, your roadmap. That should be the primary goal. Instead of sharing it with the team, this is your performance, you're not performing and stuff, right? For example, if I will I will share a couple of trends, and then you guys will see, okay, what you can see on this particular trend. Okay, I'm just sharing one whiteboard, and then we will start. So you can see the whiteboard, right? So let's say this is the velocity of a team, where this is the certain bars we have. And let's do it in this way. This is the one, this is the second one, this is the third one. Okay, so what you can see here is, this is a trend. So this here is the sprints, like sprint 1, sprint 2, 3, 4, 5. And here is the story points. So might be here is 10, here is 20, then 30, then somewhere is 40, then there's somewhere is 50. Right? And now you can draw a trend. What is the trend of your team? So in this sprint 1, they delivered this much, then 2, then 3, then 4, then how it's going. Now suddenly after this is a sprint 6, where they delivered this much. Sprint 7, they delivered this much. Sprint 8, they suddenly delivered this much. All right. So what you understand from this graph, your team is continuously learning. When you're learning, because these are the very initial stages, but still you can see there is an improvement. There is a slight improvement, and then there is a straight line, and then it's suddenly going dip, and then suddenly increase. So what it tells, this thing tells your team is really improving with the time. Now, what are the factors they're improving? Because here you started, this is your first sprint, your team's communication just started. They start building trust on each other. They start understanding the project, the requirements more better. And that's how they will start growing. With the time, they have better understanding, they start coordinating with each other, and then it's improving. And it's going up good, everything going good till here. And then after, suddenly it's going dip, and it's continuously going 2 times down. Now, what this thing says, there is really something drastically happening which is not expected with the team. Or there is some kind of a change which really a blocker for the team. So they are not delivering as per the expectations. Now, whenever you get this first dip, what you will do is try to do a retrospective here. Try to understand why your team is having the dip in velocity. You will get to know the reasons, and there could be totally different reasons. One reason is, might be 2 of your team member, they are suddenly going on a leave, planned leave or unplanned leave, and that's why your team is like, till here your team is having like 10 team members, and now suddenly here you will have only 6 or 7 team members. So that is the reason. If that is the reason, then you don't have to do anything. Then definitely in the next sprint, if your headcount is 10, then this should be somewhere here. That should, then we can easily justify why it's having a dip. But if there is a different reason, like one of your team member, or they are working on something, a new feature, which they never worked before in the past. And that's why they couldn't deliver as per how they're delivering. If that is the reason, then try to create some action items for those things. Okay, how we can work it. Try to involve some SMEs who can help your team so that in the next sprint, if we have similar kind of blockers, you can work with them and then we can resolve it. Right? There is another example. Your team is delivered, but they introduce a new process in this sprint. And the new process is they start writing unit test cases. So till here, there is no unit test cases. But now from here, they start writing unit test cases, and that's why your developers are taking more time, and that's why they are delivering less. Now, this is the case. Then this is also a justifiable case. Yes, we are working on the more quality. That's why we will see a dip. We will make sure in the next sprint, this will not going down. It will at least going somewhere here, and then it will be slowly improving. So if you know the reasons why your team is having dip, if you create an action items, if you work on those things, then you will see an improvement. If you're not doing anything in the retro here, then you will see a continuous drop. Now, if your reason is that your team members are on leave, and here they will come back, then this should improve. And if it's not improved, that means the leave is not the concern. The concern is something else. Then we have to do a more thorough retrospective when you will see a second dip. So whenever you have this, try to make sure you will create some concrete action items so that you will have some improvements. If you have some valid reasons where you can't do anything, like reduce in the number of teams, reduce in you introduce a new process which will also impact. And if those kind of things you have, then you also have to communicate with your stakeholders, because you might be on the basis of this, I will say till here, your average might be somewhere 40 story points. So you communicate to your stakeholders with this average of 40, you're delivering the next milestone after 2 months, right? But then you realize your velocity at this point, it's reduced to, here it reduced to 30. And again, in the next one, it reduced to 20. Now that definitely it will impact your timelines. Now you can't deliver in 2 months. So then these kind of things, and if you have a continuous slope, then you have to communicate to your stakeholders as well. Like it will be having any major impact on our deliverables. So we have to adjust our goals. What we can deprioritize, if something which is nice to have, let's deprioritize those things. If something is critical, we have to work on. So those kind of things we should use. Now, what we are using the velocity and what we should use it, there's huge difference. Right? So that is the thing which we are not bothering about. We are always focusing on the metrics, how we can track the team's performance. Basically, see, metrics definitely give you your team's performance, but this metric should not be the your one point where you validate your team's performance. If you know the reasons why your team is performing like this, either they're improving or their performance is dipping down or going up. If you know the valid reasons, you can create some good action items, and then you can work for your future plans. You can update your goals. You can communicate your stakeholders. If something is continuously going down, and if you are creating action items, if you're working on those action items, then definitely after a sprint or two, you will see some improvements. So that is the work a Scrum Master should do. It's not about, okay, do one retro, create some action items, put it on the team. Guys, you have to work on this action item. No, it's not how a Scrum Master dealing with the metrics. Right? Any questions on this metrics before going into the next one?
No,
okay. Then let's talk about the next metrics, which is similar to this, but giving you a different kind of a perspective. And we are calling it velocity fluctuation. Now what it is, you will see there is a trend line, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a timeline. This is sprint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is this is how much you deliver. Now what it is. This is also the same velocity. What are the team's velocity you have? This is sprint value. Okay, and then this is your, I'm just drawing one thing. Now what it is, this is your max value. This is your minimum value. And this is your average. So suppose if your team's average is 40, right? And if your team, this is the delivery where at this time they delivered 42, here they delivered 48, here they delivered, let's say 41, here they also deliver somewhere 44. This was the delivery of like 20. Here they delivered like 55. And this is again, it's somewhere in the range of 41. So what it says, whenever you have a fluctuation in the velocity, so make sure this fluctuation is within the range. Now, what is the range is? This upper line is 120% of your average velocity. This bottom line is 80% of your average velocity. So if your average is 40, then this should be 120% of 40 means somewhere around 48. So this is the maximum line is, this is the 48 story point. And then this bottom is 80% means somewhere around, if you divide it 8, so this will be 32. So what it means, your teams should be deliver always between 32 to 48 if your team's velocity is 40. If your team is delivering within this range, that means it's easy to recover. And then we have a valid reason. Sometimes we have unplanned leave, sometimes we have some stories which we estimated like 3 story point, but when we start working it takes more time, it will be 5. Sometimes we spend more time on bugs. Sometimes some requirements are changing during the implementation, or some dependencies we have. There are X number of factors. But if your team is continuously keeping the velocity within the range of 80 to 100, that means it's easy to recover and it's a justifiable things. But if your team is suddenly having this much of drop, average is 40, but your team is delivering 20. Here they're delivering 55. So that means in these two incidents, there is something happening unexpected. We have to again try to deep dive why the team is only delivered 20 here. What are the root causes? Why? What are the different spillovers we have? What are the reasons of those spillovers? Try to work on those things. Here you can see it's a 20, and then suddenly in the next sprint they deliver 55. It's way high. Their average is 40, they deliver 155. So the reason might be because here they have spillovers, they only deliver 20. The rest of 20 are in progress. They can't close it. But they are more, might be those tasks are 80% done or 70% done. And that's why in the next sprint, they quickly deliver those in progress item. And that's why you will see a high. If as a Scrum Master, if you know the reasons, why it's dip, why it's having suddenly hike, why your team is having a constant dip, if you are aware of those things, you can create an action items. You can work with the team to improve. There might be one person who is having continuous, let's say this is 20, and in next time from 20, it's go to here, somewhere 35. Again, it's go to 58. If having these kind of a trend, that means something is not happening good with the team. There might be only one person is, I will tell you some real the time. Examples. You might be having one team member, he is doing overcommitment. He will say, I can deliver 10 story points. So in this sprint, he committed 10 story points. There might be like 2 5-pointer stories with total 10 story points. He delivered one is spillover, but the other one he completed 80%, but he can't close. So that 5-pointer is going into next sprint. Now again in the next sprint he took 10 story points and this 5 story points spillover. So it's here he take 15 story points, and this time he delivered, and that's why you will see a spike. But again in the next sprint he have the same story. He again committed 10, but he again delivered 5. So if this is a trend because of the one person, then you have to work with that one person. A guy, I think you should not commit 10, you should only commit 7 or 8, and let's see how it works. So these kind of action items, you have to do it. If the person is committing too much bugs, committing too many tasks in a week, and if he or she can't deliver, then as a Scrum Master, you have to work with this. So this velocity fluctuation is basically tells you how you can keep an eye on a constant progress. So this trend of your velocity should be within the range of 120 to 80. All right. If it's going between this, then it's absolutely fine. But if it's having suddenly dip or suddenly up, then you have to make some action items. Any questions on this velocity fluctuation? Okay. Then we will talk about the another scenarios or another metrics, which generally few of the people, they are not tracking it. What is commitment? Can you tell me what is commitment? Forget about the Scrum and things. What is commitment as an individual? You all have commitments, right? What is the meaning of commitment?
Whatever you have promised, you need to deliver it. And if we have given a time, that is like a commitment. On that time, we will deliver the thing or any thoughts.
Yes. What is the role of commitment in a team? As a team member, what should be your commitment or your team members' commitment?
So suppose if we have an incident raised from a business, and if it is a P2, we have a particular time frame, like we need to commit it in 4 hours. And if that incident is on some team member's name, we need to make sure from our end to the business, like we are getting it done within 4 hours. And the same commitment we need from our teammate also, that before 4 hours, it has to be done from his end.
Yes. And if things are not happening, then how you can track those things?
Then either we can ask the business if we can reduce the priority, or we can involve more people if that person is not able to handle.
So as a member, as a team member, if you have 10 items to deliver in a week, and you know you can only deliver 5, so what you will do? So you might be committed 10 items in the start of the sprint. Let's take this now Scrum example. When you started the sprint, your team committed 10 items to deliver. Now during those, I will talk about the 2-week sprint. During 3rd day and 4th day, business asks you to work on 2 more tasks. So now instead of 10, you are going to deliver 12 items, but your capacity is only to deliver 10. So what you will do? Business asks you to deliver 12. You can only deliver 10. So what you will do? Or what as a Scrum Master you should do for your team?
We can segregate the things which are having more priority, which are having less priority. We can focus on the most important part first. So
Yeah.
in that case, we can negotiate with the business if they can accept our proposal. Second thing, we can, yeah,
So we need some kind of a data where we can say, okay, is it a trend? Let's say, okay, for a particular sprint, you worked on that. Again, in the next sprint, you committed 10. And again, business asks you to deliver 15, but you can only deliver 10. You somehow deliver 15. You stretch your time, get one more team member and deliver it. But again, in the third sprint, the same scenarios. So if you have the same thing, you need some kind of a data reports which tells you how as a team you're working. And that is the another matrix which you're calling as a scope change matrix. And this is really important. So we will have the same sprints, right? And then each sprint you have a certain commitment. So let's say here, this is your commitment, and you are doing a commitment on the basis of your velocity, team's velocity, right? How much you're delivering. So this is your commitment. Why this is not straight? Because that depends on factors. Might be you have few capacity team members are on leave, sick leaves, planned leaves, and what, or n numbers of reasons. So that's why this is your commitment, right? So you committed this much. Now your business asks you to deliver more. What they will do, same, they ask you to add the more work. So you have to highlight this thing. So what the scope change say? This is the work which you committed every sprint, and this is the work which you added in the new work which you added in the sprint after the commitment. So on day one, you have this much of commitment. Let's say here you have 10 story points of commitment, but your business asks you to add 5 more story points. Here you have again 10 story points commitment. Your business asks you to add 8 more. Here you have 15 story points of commitment. Your business asks you to add 6 more. So when you have these kind of reports and when you have a trend, how this metrics will help, you can work with your business, you can work with your product owners and say, see, there's a continuous trend. Whatever we are committing, every time the product owner or the business change the scope, they are adding more. And that's the reason we can't deliver the whole work. So what we have to do is, this is the line 0. Here you added 5, here you added 8, here you added 6. Same time, whenever we are adding these number of items, we should also de-scope. Now what this means, so when you committed this much of work, so you added here 5, you committed 10, you also deprioritize the 5. Here you added 8, you also deprioritize the 8. Here you added 6, 6. If it's say 10, so 10. If it's 7, so 7. So if you have this, what it means, your team's capacity is only this. Now, if business asks you to add more work, you have to de-scope the lowest priority one, as what you're saying, Surabhi. So at the same time, when we have 15 items, we have to make sure we are focusing on the high priority one, and the lowest priority one we can deprioritize. But what you will do, what message we are giving to the business? We are giving to the business, my team's capacity is only to deliver this much, because you have some more high priority and critical work. So we are not saying we will not deliver that. We will definitely deliver that high priority one items, but at the same time, we will also de-scope. We will also move out the lower priority items. If we are doing this, if this color and this color, these numbers are matching, so that means as a Scrum Master, you're doing a perfect job. But if you're always adding this at the top, the new work, and if you're not doing deprioritization, that means every time you have a spillovers, every time your business is saying, we ask you to deliver 15, why you only deliver 10? So to avoid these kind of conversations, this is very important. So whenever we have a scope change, we should highlight how much scope change we have and what actions we take as a Scrum Master. Did we deprioritize or not? So this scope change is also very important. So whenever you are working as a team member, as an individual, or as a Scrum Master, make sure you're also tracking these kind of things. What you committed, how much work you're getting, how much you're delivering, and what is the outcome, what is the result we are getting. If you're tracking all those things, then it's giving you a visual presentation to your leadership as well, like, is your team performing or not performing? See, if you're having this number and whatever you are adding, if you are also deprioritizing, that means your team is delivering 100% whatever they are doing it. But if you're continuously only adding, and if you're delivering only this much, then you have this amount of work as a spillover. So that will say your team is only delivering 70% or 80%. So what message we are giving now, how we can track this with help of these metrics we have tracked this. So this is the important one, which tells you whenever you have a scope change, just highlight those scope change. And this matrix helps you to track those things. Any questions on scope change? Okay, then we have the another one, which is reliability. What is reliability? As an individual, what is reliability?
Depending on someone for a task or for something.
Okay, anything else? Reliability means how a particular team is reliable. Reliable means how much they can deliver. So if they know a team's reliability, they can project their future, they can project their future plans or roadmaps accordingly. So as I'm saying, the velocity of the team, right? Same thing. Every time a team is delivering, let's say committing n number of story points, and they're only delivering n minus 2. So they're committing this, they're delivering this. So that means that is their commitment reliability percentage. For example, if here they committed 100 story points and they only deliver 80 story points. Here again they committed 100 story points, they deliver 70 story points. So if they're continuously committing 100 story points, and here they again deliver 70 story points. So what is this team's reliability? So the team's reliability is this much. 220 out of 300. This is the team's reliability. So it's come somewhere, I think 75% or 72%. So this is the team's reliability. That means this particular team can only deliver this much of their commitment. Now, what this reliability metric says, if you are a Scrum Master of a team, you make sure. So we have 3 categories in the reliability metrics. So this is the graph. I'm not good in the drawing. I'm just trying to learn with the time. And then this is the one. So what it means, right? So this is your team's data. This is 0, this is 100, 0 to 60, 60 to 80, and 80 to 100. So if your team's percentage of reliability comes during this range, the percentage is always 80 to 100, that means your team is reliable, they are performing, they're delivering. But if your team's performance is somewhere between 60 to 80, that means you have to keep an eye and try to work on how you can improve the team's performance. But if your team's performance is going below 60%, then it's a risk. Then you have to create an inspect, a retrospective, try to identify why your team is only delivering 60% what they're committing. So if they're committing here, they're committing, let's say 100 story points, they're delivering less than 60, might be 50 or might be max to max 60 they're delivering. So if you have this much of deliverables, and if you're committing 7 story points every time, so your business might be have a roadmap. Okay, every month, because we have a bi-weekly sprint, so every month the team will deliver 200 story points. So in January, February, March. So in January they will deliver 200, February they also deliver 200, March they will also deliver 200. So total they are expecting you to deliver 600 in 3 months. Now your teams below this reliability is only 50%. So here they deliver 50, here they also deliver 50, here they also deliver 50. So how much they deliver? 150. They are expecting you to deliver 600, you're only delivering 150. So the big concern. So if you have a roadmap where you have certain commitments, but if you're not aligning and if you're not keeping in close eye in very early stages, then you will have a blunder at the end. So if your team, this is your first month, first sprint, second sprint, third sprint, fourth sprint, fifth sprint, sixth sprint. So if your team's reliability is dipped 60% or less than 80%, then you have to quickly create an action item and make sure you will create some concrete action item you can work on. So in the next sprint, you will see some improvement. Here it will be at least 70%. Now here it will improve to 80%. Now here it will improve to 90%. Now after that 100, and then it will be 100 or at least 90. So when you have this, how much you're delivering? 50, 70, 80, 100, 90, 90. So it's somewhere around almost 480 or 450 or something. So it's still not that bad. Instead of 150, you create an action item, you work and improve, or at least instead of 600, you're delivering 480. So to keep an eye, we need this commitment reliability. And when you are using this metrics also give a confidence to our stakeholder. Like, can we trust this team? Can we plan a project in a long term with this particular team, because the reliability is really 80% or 85% and 90%. I'm working with my clients. My reliability is 95%. Average reliability is 95%. So that means whatever we are committing, we are trying to deliver 95% of that. 5% sometimes we can't, sometimes we deliver 100, sometimes we deliver 90, sometimes we deliver 92. So the average comes as a 95%. But still we see there are some improvements. We can make it, but it's not that bad. So as a Scrum Master, you should also have an aim. Your team's average commitment reliability should always lie more than 80%. It shouldn't be less than 80%. And if it's less than 80%, then you know at what time you have to take what kind of a concrete actions. So this is the commitment reliability. You committed something and you deliver something. Now, how much you are reliable so that your company, your stakeholders, your client can be trust on you, and they can plan a critical roadmap. They can plan a small milestones, right? So these kind of things you work on. So this is another metrics. Any questions on commitment reliability? Okay, so these are the basic Scrum metrics which we are using. Okay, apart from that, we have a couple of more which we can talk about. But right now I'm moving into Kanban, because in Kanban we're also using something which is really important. You're already aware of, right, how the Kanban works. In Kanban, we are not having a sprint mode Every day they are getting some task. Next day they are getting something else. Every day the priority is changing. So this is their to-do list. This is their in progress list. This is their testing or QA, you will say, and this is their done. So today on 25th of March, you have 70 items, where 5 items are in progress, 3 items are in QA, and 10 items you already delivered. This is your current status. Tomorrow is 26th. You added 5 more items in the backlog. Now you have 75. And you also have again 5, 3. You delivered something yesterday, so this will increase to 12. Right? This is how the Kanban works. Every day we are getting new work. We will prioritize high priority items. We are trying to take in progress as soon as possible. Then we are moving it. Now, how we can track in a matrix? So for the Kanban, the important metrics which we are using is CFD, cumulative flow diagram. Now, what is cumulative flow diagram is saying? You will see there is a couple of trend lines. Can anyone explain what it is? What I'm trying to draw? Anyone knows what is cumulative flow diagram?
Kanban, they use CFT, but not sure how it is used in integrated.
What this graph is? What you can assume with this graph?
Does it categorize into the lanes that we have? Work in progress, how much done?
Yes. What cumulative flow diagram says, when we are starting a project, at that time we have very small amount of backlog, right? Which is this much.
Yeah.
So this might be, you'll say, when you're starting day 1 of your project, you only have this much of backlog. Day 10, you have this much of backlog. Day 50, day 100, day 200, 300, after a year, 365. So how the team is performing. You will see every time our backlog is continuously increasing. That means we are getting new requirements, so our backlog is increasing. But if backlog is increasing, and if your team size is constant, then you will have a constant in progress. That says your WIP. And if you have a constant team size, and with this you have a constant this yellow line, that means you are doing great work. But this green should also increase. Now you will see it's increased and decreased and increase and decrease. That means sometimes we are delivering more as per expectation. Sometimes we again have a dip. So this will tell us a healthy backlog in a project where we are continuously refining this, we are continuously prioritizing this, and we are continuously delivering the more value to the team. This will tell the leadership in a year how much we progress. In a year, according to this graph, we really have a very huge backlog in our system, but our progress is very minimum. So what we will do? Let's increase the team size. Let's refine the backlog again, and let's target what we can do in the next 3 months. Then definitely this gray area will be reduced. This green area will be increased, And this will help you. Like this is a 365, this is another next 365. The aim is this will go somewhere this. So if you have to deliver in a project, at the some time it will end. Or it will at least keep at a minimum where you have a support. This yellow will remain something like this, but this green will definitely increase. So if you have this, that means you have a better planning. Your backlog is tracked. You have a proper timelines when you have to end your project. But if your backlog is continuously only increasing to-do list, it's never going dip. That means your project is never ending in the future. Is this the goal? If it's a support kind of project, then we can assume this. But if you have some kind of a time restricted project where you have to deliver something in a project in a year or 6 months or something, then make sure this gray area will be dipped with the time. So this is a very important one in the Kanban, which you are doing it. The another important thing in the Kanban is defect leakage. Whenever you're delivering something, after that, how many bugs we are raising in a system. That tells the quality of the particular system. What we are delivering after a delivery, if the number of bugs are reducing, that's fine. If the quality is improving, then that's another important metrics for a Kanban team. Right? But this, I'm taking a pause because there are a lot of other metrics we can use in the Kanban, but that because this is Scrum specific session, so I just want to keep it with the Scrum where you can talk about all these metrics. So what was the first metric we talk about? Let's do a quick revision. The first one?
Velocity.
Scope.
Then the second one?
Velocity fluctuations.
Fluctuation. Then third one?
Scope change.
Fourth one?
Reliability matrix.
Reliability metrics. And after that? The Kanban
CF.
metric.
Kanban
The
metric.
flow diagram and the defect leakage. Now what I'm going to do is I'm sharing you the template, right? That you can also use it. So, and this is the template which we were using from, let me share it. I think a couple of you already aware of this template. You can see this, right? So how it looks, the velocity, then this is a fluctuation. You can see this should be between 80 to 100%, 120%. Then the scope change, you will see if there is a yellow, there should be some similar thing here. Then the average commitment reliability. So these are the important ones which we should use it. I will share this Excel with all of you. You can also just do it. What you have to do is, this is a data input here. You just need to enter the data of your sprint, and then this dashboard will automatically start reflecting the numbers. So you will also see how your team is doing. Right? With this,
Okay.
I'm just stopping this. If you have any questions, comment on this thing, we can discuss. Anyone?
Thank you, Chetan, for this insights. This is new, actually. Velocity and burn down, that is what usually we track, and yeah, all this I haven't done yet.
Burn down is basically a team specific metrics, which tells you during a sprint how your team is delivering. Are they on track? Let's say in 2 weeks, you have to deliver 10 tasks or 10 story points. So the expectation is every day you have at least some burn down of at least 1 story point or 2 story point. If you are on track, if you really want to deliver the 10 story points in a sprint, you will see a continuous dip. If you have a straight line, if there is no dip, that means there is a concern. So you have to actively work on that. So that's the purpose. Burn down is not for the leadership. That's another thing. We have according to the audience, we will create the metrics. If you are doing with the team, then velocity is the one which you can use with the team. Burn down you can use with the team during the Scrum process. Same when you're going with the leadership, then you should not use the burn down. Then you should use these kind of metrics: scope change, commitment reliability, velocity fluctuations. That that tells us stakeholders to keep a trust on our team. That's how we are performing. That's how we will give you a surety how much time we can deliver your features on your requirements, right? Yavanjakshi, you want to add?
No, that's all.
Okay. Okay, with this, I'm concluding this session. See you after 2 weeks for the next one.
Sure. Thank you, Flick. Yes, have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.